a beautiful bird and the first of the season for me. Finally having a chance to see a Carmine Bee Eater. That beautiful pink bee eater that has felt their absence recently. It felt as though they've come back late this year. And you can see the one on the left looking a little bit bedraggled and a little bit sorry for itself, having just undergone an enormous journey. They're always the last of the bee eaters to arrive. The European bee eaters always get here first. But what a special surprise it is. I think somebody told me that Taylor had seen a Carmine Bee Eater. There we go. So apparently Taylor saw the first one last week, but this is the first for me. This is the first Carmine Bee Eater that I have seen. Now, I'm really excited about this, and for our new viewers, it is something that you can add to bird lists. I think that would be quite nice. For those of you that perhaps are new to the show, maybe you missed Taylor's European Bee Eater. Well, now you can have a chance to see one and add it to your list. We've come bumbling through to Chitwa Dam. I'm basically just on a bumble, which is why I'm so happy to see something. Oh, sorry, I said European Bee Eater. I meant a Carmine Bee Eater. And then to be more specific, actually, to be technically correct, the southern Carmine. So they've migrated all the way from equatorial Africa. It's not the longest migration that any birds take in order to get here to South Africa in our wet season. But at the same time, they do come through during storm season. And having just flown over Africa recently, I've seen some of the enormous storm systems that develop. Oh, mongoose. Where'd you go? I wasn't paying attention. If I'd been paying attention, I would have heard them. It's just dashed. It's just disappeared in under here somewhere. Oh, there's a couple of really exciting things happening here. One is we've got the Carmine Bee Eater, and I think we should have one last look before we risk. In fact, I'm not even going to risk moving off. The other is that the baby Impala have got horns. The new set of baby Impala have just started growing their horns. I don't know if any of the other guides have picked up on that or if they've mentioned it to you, but it's utterly adorable. And of course now I can't see the one that I saw earlier that had the little horns sticking up out of the top of its head, but it's astounding. Is that it there? No, that's a female. Oh, he's vanished. That's so disappointing. But it's utterly astounding that they're just 2.5 months old and they're already starting to grow their horns, the males that is. Big stretch. Where's that little male gone? I've lost him. I think, Craig, can you see the two of them there having a little headbutt? Yes. Oh! And other things. Mock mounting. Dominance display. Yes, there you go. There, they're little males. You can just see that. No, don't do that. Oh, I can't reposition the car. I'm scared I'm going to lose signal. Wait, they'll come out. They'll come out. Here they come. There we go. The two little males with these tiny little stubs sticking out of the top of their heads. How cute is that? And already full of nonsense, just like all Impala rams. And this little one, the one on the left, is just ever so slightly older than the one on the right, and he's seriously pushing home his advantage. Already that instinct there to fight and to play. So that's what I wanted to show you. I was excited about the baby Impala horns. Which is bone, of course. Alright, one last look at our bee eater, because I just saw it catch something. And to see if it's still got it in its bill. Aren't they beautiful? Of course, they're the ones that you might have seen some really famous pictures of, or famous images of enormous flocks of them gathering to nest in hollows in sand. So in sandbanks that are found throughout Africa, but particularly Botswana, Zimbabwe, those sorts of areas. Wherever there's a sandbank in a river, they will nest inside it and catch. Right. A lovely afternoon spent at Chitwa Dam. While we move on and go and have a look and see what the hippos are up to, let's go back to Byron, find out what's happening with the Queen and the Giants.
Now the elephants have moved off, but Karula has stopped drinking and she's headed back towards the kill. Just trying to see which way she's gone. Hey, can you see her there? There we go. There we go. Very close to us. She's resting now. I'm not sure where the little ones have gone, where the cubs have gone. We saw Xongile move off earlier. But I'm sure they will pop out at some point. That was really so stunning with her bent over the water drinking. It was a perfect little spot for her. Now, Dave, you asked what purpose do the whiskers serve for leopards? Well, like all cats, they use their whiskers to feel around. They'll be able to tell if they're moving through thick bush or thick little areas. If their whiskers are able to fit through, generally the body can fit through, but most of the time the whiskers, when they do make a kill, if they catch something, they generally go for the esophagus. They choke their prey to death, and they grab around the neck, and on that neck hole they can then pick up the heart rate of an animal, if it's still breathing or not. So they're very, very sensitive, so they'll be able to work out if the animal's dead or if it's still alive. They'll be able to use those whiskers to pick up on that, on the pulse of the animal. You can see she's breathing quite heavily. It's still a very, very warm afternoon, and as we could see earlier, her belly is quite full from the impala that she's been feeding on. And leopards pant heavily when they do eat a lot. Their bellies are just very full. But I definitely think the heat has got something to do with it. But what a great spot for this leopard to have made the kill, so close to water. And there is a lot of shade around, so a lovely spot for her and her two cubs. Some francolins calling in the distance. Cape turtle doves, still a lot of bird calls around us. There's actually a bit of a cool breeze at the moment. It's blowing through the air. It's so peaceful sitting watching a leopard like this. You can just enjoy it. I've sat many times with guests where we literally sit with a leopard our entire game drive, spend time with one animal, and it pays off. Just wait, and usually we get wonderful pictures, or we just see them doing something unusual. I'm going to sit here a little bit longer because it's such a great sighting. Now Jamie, I think, has gone down to Chitwa, and she's got some large water creatures she'd like to show you.
Several large and always entertaining water creatures, or one of them even giving us a very large yawn. Of course, this is the Chitwa pod of hippopotamuses. Hippopotami. Hippo. Let's go with hippo. What's that one doing at the back there? Is it playing? Of course, it's always thoroughly entertaining to sit with the Chitwa pod. They're always up to something. There's always at least one of them that's up to something. And I can't wait to be able to be here when they're all leaving the water. Perhaps on a cool, cloudy day when they'll be more inclined to leave early. It might be quite fun to sit here and watch them all get up and spread out in their opposite directions. For now, though, they're doing what hippo do best at this time of day, which is settle down and hide beneath the surface of the water, sheltering their sensitive skin from the harsh rays of the sun. When we did our second TV series, a very funny moment where it was entirely my fault, where my plan was to start off by talking about the Chitwa pod of hippos, but I just said to VM what amazing or how thoroughly entertaining the Egyptian geese are around this dam, and as a result I think VM assumed that I was going to start talking about the geese rather than the hippo. So I sort of did the introduction to the TV show and went, and of course we're sitting with the pod of Egyptian geese, because all of a sudden we were looking at Egyptian geese and definitely not hippo. At least he laughed at my story. I love that sound. It's a sound I really miss. And the areas that I've lived, I've always had it sort of around me. It's definitely a sound that I really truly appreciate hearing. Oh, look at that. Those enormous tusks. And that incredibly wide mouth. That was awesome. And that really gives you an idea as to just how dangerous these hippo are. Oh, maybe you a little bit less so. Yes, you're very big and scary too. Oh, sweet. You got a bite on the nose, that baby hippo. But yes, that did give you a really good demonstration as to just how formidable the mouth of a hippopotamus truly is. Unbelievably wide and equipped with those long, sharp tusks, modified teeth, but they are tusks. It is ivory that will stab and puncture the toughest of skin. And hippopotamus can kill each other using those tusks, so it gives you just an idea of just how powerful their jaws are. Lillian, you've heard that hippos yawn when they are hungry. Alright, I'm distracted. I wanted to see... Oh, no, it's gone under again. Lillian, I've never heard of hippos yawning when they're hungry. They do yawn when they're threatened. That they absolutely do. It's a threat display. It's a nervous display. Actually, more than a threat display, it can be a nervous display to sort of show that they're uncomfortable and that you shouldn't come any closer because they've got this wide mouth. But I've never heard of hippos yawning when they're hungry. All it reminds me of is that game when we were children. Hungry Hippos? Yeah. Didn't we have a game? What is the game with Hungry Hippos? You had to do something when they yawned or yawned. You had to get them in the middle of the mouth with a was it? Oh yes, you hit it on the mouth. That's what it reminds me of. A board game when we were children. Unless perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps hippos do yawn when they're hungry. I mean, we yawn because we're sort of trying to get oxygen or increase our oxygen levels. I don't quite know about hippos and yawning. Oh! This is the two of them, the two babies displaying to each other and trying to one-up each other. Intimidation. It's exactly what we saw those baby Impala do earlier. So if any of you know whether hippos, if perhaps you've heard the same story about hippos yawning when they're hungry. Now, Trident, you say that you've always heard that hippo are some of the most dangerous animals. And Craig, what are those two hippo doing over there? Sorry, I just want to see what they're doing on the other side of the dam there. Unusual to see a hippo that much out of water. And it made me wonder perhaps if we haven't... We have too! No way!
What's going on?
They're mating.
Oh.
That is so cool. That is a serious... I'm pretty sure they are. Unless they've been having a fight and the two of them have... The one is resting on the other to display dominance. But I don't think so. I think they might be mating. Or maybe I'm wrong. I'm not. No, I'm not wrong. They're mating. And if they're anything like rhino, that goes on for a very long time. Rhino mate for up to 45 minutes at a time. It's usually a slightly more energetic, slightly noisier affair than these two hippos, but I think that's what's happening. That's really cool. Really, really cool. And of course it helps to mate in the water. Unlike elephants that have to make sure that the whole experience is incredibly quick because there's such a vast difference in size between the male and the female. And he can do her serious damage if he rests his weight on her back for too long. In the case of the hippo, they've got the added buoyancy of the water. Huh. Now that's a first. On our live safaris, I think. I don't think I've ever seen hippo mate before on the live. Well, I definitely haven't seen them on the live safaris. And the last time I saw hippo mating was years ago. Cool. Very, very cool. What were we talking about? We were talking about why hippo are so dangerous. I was in the process of asking a question about whether or not it's true that hippo are one of the most dangerous animals that we see out here. And the answer was yes, unequivocally they are. Not when they're in a situation like this. So we could probably walk up quite close to the water's edge without any danger to us. And that's because hippos feel the most comfortable in the water. They feel safe in the water. Sorry, I'm just watching this whole process. I'm trying to work out if they really are mating. They have to be. I can't think what else they're doing. But yes, on foot, a hippopotamus is one of the most dangerous creatures that you can encounter out here. Look, she's pushing. There's a third hippo in this equation that is actually pushing the female that the male's resting on. She's pushing it along. Or he, I'm not quite sure. It's a bit tricky to tell. Sorry, yes, on foot, hippopotamus, particularly if you get between them and water, are unbelievably dangerous. And they're very aggressive animals, and they tend, if they charge, they tend to follow through. There's very seldom a mock or a warning charge in the same way you get with elephants or with lions. They generally will follow through completely. However, they also have a terrible reputation, but I mean, if you think about it, in terms of human beings, where do human beings build their settlements? Around water. Where are hippos based? Around water. So they've also garnered that reputation because they've actually one of the animals that will most often come into conflict with people. And it's rather difficult to fence a river, which means that hippos don't necessarily stay in reserves. I'm still not 100% convinced that we're seeing hippo mating. I'd be astounded. Emily, while we look at our dam full of hippos, Emily would like to know whether or not there are any animals that will go after hippos. The only animal that does, apart from, of course, other hippos who are often fighting and injuring each other, is lions. So lions will, particularly what we saw over the last few months was during the drought, hippos were being targeted throughout Kruger because they were in such terrible condition. They were so thin and weak that they actually didn't have the strength to fight back. Now, it's only a lion pride, and it would have to be quite a big lion pride or with a few males that is able to really properly challenge a hippopotamus. They're massive animals and they are very dangerous. There's been a very cool hippopotamus sighting. I'm still trying to work out if they are mating. So Jean, you say, sorry, not Dean, Jean. Oh, geese. Hello, geese. Flock of Egyptian geese passing overhead. Jean, apparently Brent saw hippopotamus mating at Arathusa Dam. So it has happened before on our live safaris. Definitely a first for me since working for Safari Live, and they've all but disappeared. I'm going to keep an eye on them. In the meantime, let's head out and see what else is happening out and about elsewhere.
Now, I have two things to say to you. The first is that this plant I have finally identified, and astoundingly, I was correct. It is called Gomphrena. Careful there. Bad luck, Andre. Yes, he was told me to keep walking. That is Gomphrena, everybody. It's all over the place, and it's an exotic. It doesn't occur naturally in South Africa, but it's everywhere where there's sort of a disturbed site and water. So you find them down the drainage lines and all around all the dams. So that's called Gomphrena. It doesn't seem to have a common name, has no use. I don't think much eats it either. Anyway, then we went towards a woodland kingfisher nest that I know of, the only one I've ever found, and we watched a woodland kingfisher go into it the other day with a snake. About a foot long, and obviously its babies were getting very large because they consumed the snake, and they're definitely not there anymore. There was no sound and there were no adults around, so I think that the woodland kingfishers have moved on from their little nest, which is a bit sad for me. We're going to go down through here now. There's a pan with some water in it, and then we'll go down into the valley of the great Umlwamati and see if we can't find sign of that leopard. We haven't found any sign of him, but it's a beautiful afternoon. And golden slices of light. I quite like that. I'm afraid I did steal it from a book, though. It's not mine. Let's go this way, Andre. Now there's the call of the rattling cisticola in here. And the rattling cisticola is calling because Herbert is in front of us. And it's very nervous of Herbert. Right, the water hole is just up ahead there. Let's go and have a look, see what we can find. What an afternoon you've been having there with the hippopotami. Jay, do you want to know how heavy the camera equipment is that Jean-Andre is carrying? It's about 14 kilograms, the pack, which is about 30 pounds, 32 pounds or so. The camera itself, well, probably about 500 grams, about a pound, I suppose. Not even. 1.5 kilograms, so about 3.2 pounds. Careful, Jean-Andre. So it's quite a physical feat. Not so much the walking, I don't think, but the maneuvering around a sighting. So, for example, when I drop to the ground like this and I say, Jean-Andre, come and have a look over here, and I pick up a piece of nothing, he has got to squat down onto his haunches and not move the aerial. So the aerial's got to remain upright. He can't lean forward at all. And that's when it becomes very tiring. And you can see how smoothly he's demonstrating his style now. Some cameramen are not cut out for it. Some complain quite bitterly about having to walk around with the pack on. But I don't think it's the walking, like I say. I think it's the effort of, once you've found things to look at, of maintaining the steadiness of it with the aerial upright, etc., etc. Now, that brings me neatly to the waterhole that we're at now. Here we are, Jean-Andre. Well done, we've made it. You can come along here and let's see if we can't find some kind of interesting creature. There would appear to be no leopard tracks here, but this is exactly where you would expect a leopard to come drinking in the middle of a hot day like this. We've also had, very little in the way of frogs this season, which makes me a little bit sad. We have, I don't know if you were watching the TV show today, but we have captured some tadpoles. In fact, we did them in the rehearsal during the weekend, and those tadpoles we're going to keep for the next 4 weeks and see if they don't turn into toads. Steph keeps them for his son, and often finds that they turn into toads and not frogs, but they will still be very interesting regardless to watch them go through their metamorphosis. Let us continue around here, Jean-Andre. Now, I don't see anything particularly of note, so we'll head down into the drainage line there. As you can see in this waterhole, not a great deal of life, quite unlike the waterhole where Jamie is and her hippopotami.
Plenty of life and plenty of noise here at the Chitwa waterhole, where the young and rambunctious hippo all seem to be gathered in one corner of the dam, where they are pushing each other about and having a wonderful time mock fighting. what's the word? Sparring. That's the word I was looking for. Sparring with each other, testing their jaw strength, testing their technique, and every now and again doing amazing dolphin dives in a not particularly graceful fashion, not quite with the same abilities that dolphins have, but every now and again they do launch themselves right out of the water and then dive back in head first. Oh, there's more sparring at the back on the right there, Craig. Well done. And there we go. And of course, unlike dolphins, hippopotamus cannot swim. They are completely unable to doggy paddle, essentially, one of the few mammal species that we have out here. And they stay buoyant by walking along the bottom of the water, or the bottom of the dam. Oh, there they are again. Yeah, I think we stick looking at these two because they are being thoroughly entertaining. But while we watch them play, since hippo can't swim, Larry, you want to know, how did baby hippo handle deep water? And Lenny, you were asking about how baby hippo handle deep water. And the answer is they actually rest on they ride on their mother's backs. So when mom is standing in a place where she can breathe, then the baby will actually rest up against her and hook its legs over her back or something similar. But they can still propel themselves, so if they do sink to the bottom, they can always push their way back up again. And they actually form a very important function in terms of keeping waterways from stagnating and build-up of dead aquatic plant material, particularly around rivers. Obviously less. They're making a whirlpool. Did you ever do that as kids? In a small swimming pool where you'd run round and round and round, or swim round and round and round in circles until you made a whirlpool? That's what they seem to be doing. Oh! I capitulate. These are all young hippo. You can see they haven't fully developed their tusks yet. And they're just having a wonderful time playing. And while I've been watching the hippo, I have of course been keeping an eye out for the crocodile. Craig said he saw it in a place where we can't see it now, unfortunately, which is on the other side of the small island that is off to my left. Hippo everywhere. I don't know where to look. Craig, did you see him somewhere that side? But yeah, apparently it was in the water, so it was swimming around. So it might pop out. I've been keeping an eye out for it. And apparently there's more than one crocodile. I've seen 2 of the 3 biggish ones that are apparently in this water. There's the pratincoles. Also a bird species that I have not seen all that regularly up until recently. In fact, I think it's only in the last few months that I've started to see them on Djuma, the red-winged pratincoles. And innumerable Egyptian geese. Most of them have now disappeared from view, but there must be about 30 Egyptian geese wandering around this dam. And I've just noticed that you can actually see the eggs of the Egyptian goose. I think it's an egg. Look there. That looks like eggs to me. It looks like eggs. Now, there you go. You can actually see the eggs of the Egyptian goose family. So how exciting is that? We'll be able to watch the little goslings as they first emerge and come plopping into the water. Fascinating. I actually never knew they nested out over the water like that. I'm surprised and very impressed with them. Oh, I believe that James was actually the one who discovered that nest. And speaking of James, let's head back to him, find out what he's up to now.
Look at this thing. It looks deeply dangerous. And I've no doubt that those spikes, which are multi-spikes, they're spikes from the back and then they branch out. They're double-branched spikes. I've no doubt that they're spiky if you try and eat this caterpillar. But their colour just puts me off entirely. It really is I don't know, I find myself quite disgusted by it. That's not its fault, of course. There's no reason it shouldn't be living its life in the wilderness, the same way that we are. I just think it's just not very pretty. And that is a warning to anything that might want to eat it. Oh, can you hear the red-chested cuckoo behind us? You might also be able to hear some knocking in the background. I don't know what Herbert's doing. He's found something to beat. He might be cracking some nuts or something. Isn't this cool? I've got no idea what this is, what it's going to become. And I also don't really want to sort of put it in my shirt, if you know what I mean. This thing will create a serious skin irritation if those spikes were to get onto you. So I think what we'll do is put it onto this grass stalk and then release him into the wilderness. There you are. You rather nasty looking caterpillar. Let's go and see what Herbie is bashing. And David, you say that caterpillar looks like fire. It does indeed look like fire. Oh, this is a gorgeous afternoon. Now we're going to follow the sound of Herbert bashing things. Let's just see if we can maintain some signal. Herberto? Ukomene? What did you find? Ah, he's making some marula nuts for us. Let's see how the signal goes. He says, Ndikomete manga, which are nuts. And that's what he's bashing to pieces here. Let's see if we can maintain the signal. I hope we can in here. We've done it once or twice before, but sometimes it can be a little bit dodgy. Sorry about the pixelation, but let's just keep trying. Oh, I remember where this is now. Of course, this was the sad sight of that, where that poor Nkuhuma cub succumbed to the white mussel disease. Just around here. This was full of water at the time, and there's no water here anymore, which is very odd to me. And what Herbert's found is a log and a whole lot of nuts that they have probably been cleaned off by the squirrels. There he is. And he's bashing out the nuts in expert fashion. Let's go and have some. I find these nuts rather delicious. And look at the light filtering through the trees here. Very pretty indeed. Negative, none. He hasn't managed to bash us one yet. But this is not very impressive. I thought by the time we got here we would have a great big pile of delicious nuts. There we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, look at that. That is delicious. Now many of you may have seen this before. There we go.
I'll put you too.
Oh, that is the best marula nut I've ever seen. Herbert, are you sure you don't want this one? It's like a really sweet walnut. Lots of selenium, very good for you. Much vitamin C, also very good for you. It is thoroughly delicious. It really is nice. Apparently Louise is complaining that we never bring her back any. Louise, if you walk out of the final control, turn to your left, take 10 paces ahead, you'll find a tree full of marula fruits all over the ground. All you need is a stick. You've seen how Herbert's done this. You can find out, in fact, you can use the concrete outside the final control, and I'll even lend you a hammer, and you can do this yourself to your heart's content all day long. It will be a frustrating process. You will probably break your thumbs for the first day or so. After that, you'll learn, and you'll have delicious marulas to eat. and they are very delicious. But you know what? It's such an enormous amount of effort to get them that, if I was getting them out, I'm not sure I'd be able to share them with anyone. That was just wonderful. Now, while we look up here at where an elephant has been rubbing itself against the tree, look how high that is. That's quite astounding. It was a large elephant that did this. Tanis, you're in Canada and wondering about poisonous plants. Are there any poisonous plants that the animals have to avoid? Yes, there are. Absolutely. Many animals will have to avoid certain plants, but some plants that are poisonous to some animals are not poisonous to others. The tambuti tree is a great example. Poisonous to some, not poisonous to kudu, not poisonous to black rhino, not poisonous to... John is actually showing you a tambuti. Well done, John. That was very clever of you. Not poisonous to porcupines, for example. Euphorbias, which are the sort of African equivalent of cacti. Very similar kind of thing. And then I think you'll find some of the herbs, some of the flowers. Steph was looking at something called Gloriosa superba today, or the flame lily. Very, very toxic, and I suspect that they're aposematically coloured in that sort of yellow colour to make animals leave them alone. But for everything out here that grows, no matter how toxic it is, no matter how many chemical defences it has, something will have evolved to eat it. And I'm thinking specifically of this, I don't even know what it is. It's a deeply sort of milky... Ooh, Chandra nearly got crowned there by a marula fruit. It's a creeper that produces a lot of milky latex, and those are the plants that we found the African monarch larvae on, caterpillars on. I would imagine that for 90% of the animals out here, that would be a toxic plant, and they would avoid it. Animals tend to know, probably from smell or from experience or from sort of natural selection, what to avoid and what not to. And I suspect that a plant like that is probably toxic to just about everything out here, except the one or two species that have evolved to eat it or cope with the chemical toxins that there are there. Nice question. Thank you, Tanis. Let us continue our wander through this glade of joy. Now, Byron is driving about. I think he's left those marvellous leopards, so we're going to head across to him, and do not forget to greet him in the name of Schmecta.
James is going to get a hiding later tonight, everyone. If you do not see James tomorrow out on safari, you know why. It's because he has been beaten into a pulp by me this evening. He can be so annoying sometimes. However, he is the greatest guitarist in the Northern Sabi Sands. That's about it, I would say. The Northern Sabi Sands, James is the greatest guitarist. I think he tops one of the trackers from Nkoro who can play the ukulele. Now we left the wonderful leopards. Let's get off James now. We left the wonderful leopards, and we also left the magnificent elephant. The elephants moved off. They crossed over onto Torchwood. So now we are just having a look around for anything else we can find, and I think we're going to have quite a spectacular sunset. So I'm going to head into an area where we will be able to see a beautiful sunset. And those leopards, Karula moved off into some thick bush. It was very hot, so I think the flies were bothering her. We couldn't really see them anymore, so we thought we'd rather leave them. We had a lovely view of them. Great to see her go and drink. You are asking about Byron's tip of the day, and I think we've missed 2 days of it, so I'm sure you're itching for tip of the day. And I think today's tip, when you're on safari, I think it's quite important to bring a camera with you, but nowadays it doesn't mean you have to go out and buy the most expensive camera. You can get little, what we call point and shoots, and those are important to have, or nice to have rather, not important. Nice to have to get memories of your safari, but nowadays I suppose you could use your phone or anything like that. But I think, but the tip I would give is, and I think it's crucial for a safari, is to bring your own binoculars. Binoculars are very, very important, and I've got my pair here. I always carry them around with me. A good or decent pair of binoculars, I think, are very important for a safari, because often you might get to see a bird or something, or even an animal that might be in an area that you just enhance the view a lot more if you've got a good pair of binoculars. So my tip of the day would be, if you're going on safari, get yourself a decent pair of binoculars. You won't regret it, and take them with you. That's definitely something I think vital on a safari. So that's Byron's tip of the day for today. I'm just going through a little dip here quickly. So I think we've got to a point to know where those little spots are. Helps that we just let you know. Now I wonder, I was thinking the other day, now James seems to think that the Nkuhuma Pride is still in the Manyeleti. Now I'm not sure. I think that was the last update we got. So, but I'm sure they'll head back soon. I'm sure a lot of you are missing the pride of lions that we see fairly regularly. What I'm surprised though is that we haven't seen another pride possibly just coming through on the southern boundary, like perhaps the Styx pride. We know they come through here. The Salala pride from Londolozi and Singita area do come up into Arathusa a little bit, but not so much. I don't think they've ever been seen around this area, not that I know of. I think this is a little bit too far for them, and they know that the Nkuhuma Pride is in the area and that this is their territory. Alright, so I think our signal's dipping a little bit, but let's head back to the best guitarist in the Northern Sabi Sands, James Hendry.
Best guitarist in the Northern Sabi Sands. Thank you, Byron. That's very kind of you. You are the strongest person in the Northern Sabi Sands. Good. Come down here and have a look. There's a hoverfly here. Can you see it? Do you want me to try and catch it?
I'm going to eat it.
I'm not going to eat it, but can you see it?
Yeah.
Now, just watch the accuracy with which it flies, if you can. Chandra, tell them if you lose it. But it's stopping next to flowers that are probably no more than 2 millimeters wide, and it's hovering and sticking its proboscis accurately down the length of the flower and sucking out the nectar. Now, the accuracy, precision with which this animal has to hover is quite astounding. And I mean, I guess it's quite similar to that you can see in the it's quite similar to the precision that we see in something like a honey or a hummingbird. But I think we have to go across to Jamie now, because we need to do a little bit of a reboot.
While James does some rebooting, luckily Wendy is still up and running. Although Wendy has sort of let us down relatively recently. Those of you who were watching the TV show, for some of you it will have been last night, but for us it was this morning, will have remembered the incredible moment when Wendy decided to let loose I don't even know how to describe it, in the middle of our leopard sighting. But just to give you a little bit of background, obviously we do, for the television shows, we have to do the adverts, and we have to sort of hit the timing relatively spot on in order to transition smoothly into the ad break, keep people watching on television, and then returning after the ad break. And that hooting, as the horn went off and started blaring in the middle of that leopard sighting, was as Kirsty had started counting me into the ad break itself. I could barely hear her counting. There's mass panic when something like that happens. I was putting the key out, I was pressing every button on the immobilizer. I tried absolutely everything to shut her up because it was deafeningly loud. For those of you that missed it, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely outrageous. And there's this sheer panic, and it continued to blare like that for a good minute after Kirsty sent everybody back across to James while we tried to sort it out. Nothing I could do to stop it. It just went crazy, and we think it was just because the battery in the immobilizer remote had gone flat. We don't need to use the immobilizers anymore, it's all been bypassed, but something happened, and Wendy was not happy about it, and it was, as Kirsty, and I could hear in her voice as she was counting us down. I mean, you can imagine, she didn't know what exactly to do. I couldn't hear her properly, so I was trying to guess the timing. I could just hear Kirsty torn between despair and laughter as this hooter blared away. I had one of the landowners sitting off to my right looking at me with an incredulous expression. And then finally there was that silence afterwards, which was almost as deafening as the noise because it came as such a surprise. And I looked across into the tree next to me, and Hosanna's looking at me as if to say, "What on earth are you doing, you idiot?" I mean, really, of all of the times that could have happened, 10 seconds into ad break was probably not ideal. So now you know why we practice them so frequently. I don't know if you can ever prepare for a moment like that, and usually, if that had happened in one of our normal shows that with all of you on board, we would have had a jolly good giggle and moved on, but it was definitely not good timing, Wendy. Thank you very much. It sounds as though James has rebooted the Bushwalk backpack. I'm going to slowly but surely make my way back towards those lions. In the meantime, let's go across to James for something smaller.
We have a crime scene going on here, everybody. This fight has been going on for some time, and it's over a caterpillar. That carnivorous fly, the species that we've seen eating ants and termites over the last little while, has caught itself a caterpillar. Now, Herbert reckons that it has injected some kind of venom into the caterpillar because it was flicking around as though it had been sort of poisoned. And that wouldn't surprise me if that's what had happened. And there's also an ant trying to get in on the action as well. Vicious, vicious fly. Now, I remember the very first time that we saw one of these. Brian and I were sitting in a lion sighting. No, it was a leopard sighting of Karula and the two cubs in the drainage line just east of Philemon's Dip. And we noticed a fly, this species of fly, sitting next to a line of ants going up and down a tree trunk. And it was the first time we'd seen it, and it was biting and eating the ants. And now can you see that? Can you see the ants there, Jandri? The ants also probably don't realize that they're in danger from this fly. The caterpillar is now dead. And the fly is going to... No, it's not dead. It's still flicking around, poor thing. And the fly is now going to try and make off with it, and hope that the tiny little carnivorous ants don't get at it first. This is astounding. And all the while watching on from a branch just next to it. Not. There is a jumping spider, but John Ray says it's a little difficult to see at the moment. Can you see it? Do you want me to point it out to you? It's over here. Can you see it there? And he's watching from a perch just up above, and perhaps thinking of getting in on the action. Now, it looks to me like the ants have given up and the fly is now consuming it. I don't know enough about the biology of these flies to know exactly how it's going to devour that thing. I imagine that it must have injected some kind of venom, some kind of enzyme that is now digesting the caterpillar. No, you see, nor did I. I didn't realize until I first saw them doing this that they could be this vicious. Flies you tend to think of as more irritating than vicious, don't you? Well, this one is vicious. Nasty, vicious, predatory fly. and now it's pulling its prize away from the ants that are trying to steal it away. Quite astounding stuff. Chandri, did you see the spider? We did see the spider. Gorgeous, gorgeous black and white fellow, a pied jumping spider. Let's just see how this plays out. It's now back exactly where it started. And as Herbert said, they've been having a great big fight. And I suppose they have. But I'm afraid the caterpillar is going to come out second or third best out of this. It's a run between the ants and the fly for first best. I don't imagine the fly is able to carry it. I think it's probably too heavy. So it's going to, whatever nutrition it's going to get from it, it's going to get on the ground here. While the ants are trying to come in like hyenas. It's a little bit like a lion removing its carcass away from a group of jackals or hyenas. This really is astounding stuff. Brilliant stuff. Okay, let's have one last look also at this jump. Oh. You see it? It went round the side. Gorgeous jumping spider. There it comes. It's back on top here, Jandri. Pied jumping spider. I'm just calling it pied because it's black and white. I don't actually know that's what it's called. Isn't that wonderful? Now, that's for me, the best part of these bushwalks is that we started off, of course, with that enormous elephant, and now we're sitting with very tiny little things, and they're also fascinating. Jay, you're wondering how we protect ourselves against these tiny little things. Some of us wear bug spray and that sort of thing. Steph does. Do you wear bug spray, John Ray? John Ray doesn't. He wears what we call gaiters, which just stop the grass seeds and that sort of thing getting into his ankles. I tend not to wear anything. Really, we get bitten by ticks, which can be irritating and can get very itchy at times, but something like that spider might be able to give you a sort of 10% bee sting type bite. It wouldn't be very painful at all. That fly would feel like also 10% bee sting, and you just slap it and it would go away. There's not a great deal out here that will do you a huge amount of harm, so we don't tend to worry about it too much. The biggest irritation on a walk is these grass seeds of Tragus berteronianus, the carrot seed. Right, let us continue. What a marvellous thing that was, you know. Herbert just sat on this log to have a wait while we rebooted the bushwalk pack, and he found that crime scene underway. And in summer, as I was saying yesterday, I think, you can sit down just about anywhere and find 1,000 little things going on, some of which you'll understand, some of which I don't think anybody's managed to find out about just yet. It really is very special. Careful, Jandri. Here we are. Okay. Byron Schmechter is out with a bird at the moment, somewhere around there.
I really hope you enjoyed looking at that beady-eyed little creature, as well as the jumping spider. Now we're sitting with the beautiful European roller, just enjoying the afternoon sun. Now I've stopped in a spot where we've got a really fantastic view at the moment. Have a look at Dave. Pans out, perfect timing too. The roller just flew off. Look at the mountain range in the distance, the Drakensberg mountain range. Dragon's Back. That's what it translates to. And it's very, very clear. And obviously with a bit of rain that we've had, the skies are clear. There's not as much dust around at the moment. And you can see it very, very clearly. Beautiful. I really enjoy every time I come out to this area, this part of South Africa, into the northern Sabi Sands, or this part of the greater Kruger Park. We drive through that mountain range. We come through not far from that little section we showed you earlier. We come through, there's a tunnel that comes through there, and you overlook the Lowveld, this area extending out towards Kruger. And it's just so beautiful. Every time I drive through there, it honestly feels like... I don't know how to explain it, but it feels almost like I'm coming home. It really has a calming feeling. Well, for me at least, it definitely does. And I get excited. I get excited coming back here and spending time out here. And I'm here for another week, which I'm really looking forward to. And then off again, back to Johannesburg. And then I'm taking guests on a safari, actually to Londolozi, so I won't be far from Djuma, just south of here. Looking very much forward to that again. It's always nice taking people out on safari and showing them the wilderness and views like this. And I'm sure we'll be able to have stunning sunsets just like this. It's a nice time of year, February. Does also get very hot, but it is nice. It's still very green. All the birds are still around. Excuse me. It's lovely. Like I said, I think we're going to get a lovely sunset because there's some cloud cover, and we know the clouds often give us beautiful colors in the sky. Jeremy wanted to know if we had any cool sightings or interesting sightings while off camera. Not really, no, not really. I think, a great sighting for me this weekend would be the one on Saturday morning when we had, was it Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon? Oh dear, I've forgotten. Saturday afternoon when we had... It was the afternoon. We had that boomslang in the tree, and we had the birds mobbing it, and we had the bush babies come out, and then we found Karula on foot. For me, that was amazing. That really was incredible. That was the highlight of my 2 weeks so far, I think. I would have to say so, because everything kind of unfolded in front of us. It was great. It was really great. And to view a leopard on foot, I do this very often and track animals regularly, but when you get to really see an animal on foot and watch them and see their reaction, it's a completely different experience. It's very special because you don't often get it. Usually these predators run away from you, or they growl and you have to move away, and she was very relaxed on that termite mound. So that for me was definitely a highlight, I would say. Yeah. And I'm still waiting for a honey badger. Haven't seen a honey badger yet here in the northern Sabi Sands, and it's my favorite animal, so I'm going to be looking out for them very, very hard. But while I do that, let's head over to Jamie, who's got a large bird she'd like to see.
A large bird in really stunning light, and that's why we've stopped to just enjoy the sight in front of us. It's one of the many white-backed vultures that had gathered around this area thanks to the buffalo that was killed by one of the Birmingham Boys, not too far away from here. And the vultures have finished it off, and most of the vultures have actually dispersed away now. They've headed off in search of their next meal, and I don't think that buffalo leftover would have gone, the buffalo leftovers would have gone very far between all of the vultures that had gathered, so I don't think all of them had much in the way of a meal. But this particular one has decided clearly that he is going to, or she is going to stick around here for the evening. And of course, vultures so dependent on the temperature of the day that once they get, in order to fly, that once they get to this point of a day when it starts to get a little bit cooler, then they settle down in these dead or dying trees in order to find a suitable perch. It really is truly stunning light. And I suppose, as it starts to get a little bit darker and a little bit cooler, it's time for us to go and see what those lions are up to. Here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping for all three of them roaring. On Saturday evening, I can't remember, we had Tino and Mfumo calling together. It was Saturday evening. Now I'm hoping for all three of them. And there's nothing quite like that sound of a lion roaring next to us. So that's what it's a bit warm. It's not as cool as it was on Saturday, so they might be more inclined towards laziness this evening. They might have a little bit of a late start, but I'm hoping not. Fingers crossed they decide to start calling before the end of the sunset safari. Craig, I'm an idiot. Look how much closer we could have got to this vulture. I forgot that the road did this. I also had a thought for a game we can play, provided James can keep his tadpoles alive. Okay, let's take one last look at the vulture. I'm such a silly person. I could have come so much closer to it. Here we go. Surveying the sunset. I bet the view is marvellous from up there. Just give me 1 second while you look at the vulture. I just want to have a quick chat on the Game Drive radio. Oh, hold on, I'm going to wait my turn, is what I'm going to do. Everybody discussing their drink stop locations. Are there any stations still with the Birminghams on Twin Dams? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. Right, so the game I thought of. Copy that, thank you. I'm going to be making my way there. I thought of the game. None of us know what those tadpoles are going to turn into. I think we should have running bets as to what they're going to turn into, which particular species of frog they're going to be. I am going to say... Oh, I don't want to time... I'm going to guess tree frog. There's going to be a foam nest frog, essentially, or grey tree frog. That's going to be my guess. Byron says they're going to turn into a prince. Only if someone kisses them, Byron, and I don't think anyone's going to be volunteering. Craig, you going to kiss our tadpoles for us? See if they turn into a prince? No.
No, I'll pass.
He'll pass. Craig says he'll pass. Okay, fair enough, fair played. I think Byron's going to lose the bet, but he definitely came up with the best answer. Yes, I think we should have a running bet as to what those tadpoles are going to turn into, because we've got such a wide variety of different frogs that it could be, that we just honestly don't know. Steph, I think, is veering towards one of the toad species. That is where he was going. Maybe eastern olive toad, which seems to be a relatively safe bet, because we often hear them around, so there's lots of them around and about. I'm going to say tree frog. Foam nest frog. That's going to be my guess. I actually don't quite know where they were collected either, which doesn't help. I'm actually just flying with a pure guess. It'd be interesting to try and guess which frogs our tadpoles are going to turn into. Oh, Byron's found the animal that I've been looking for secretly all afternoon. Let's go and have a look at a tiny little carnivore.
Well, Jamie, I'm sorry, but we did find them. Have a look at these beautiful dwarf mongoose. Not quite a prince, but they are extremely cute. I think they're catching the last bit of rays from the afternoon sun, and they clearly live in this termite mound. Have a look at that, all of them sticking their heads out. Very curious. They're actually watching some impala walk past. A few impala moving through the thicket behind them. You might just see a bit of movement. There we go. Those dwarf mongoose were watching them. But isn't that fantastic to see them all sitting on this termite mound, and they'll probably go and sleep there later. These are one of my favorite little creatures. I love seeing the dwarf mongoose. They get so curious. There's also a Coqui Franklin calling behind us. can probably hear it every now and then. There we go. Oh, look at that. They've got amazing little faces, and look at those beautiful brown eyes, almost hazel brown. Now the dwarf mongoose is the smallest of the mongoose species, but they are very gregarious, always in large family groups, anywhere up to 15 or 20 of them sometimes. And they'll move around during the day foraging for insects. I've watched them a few times catch grasshoppers. It's incredible to see them jumping up into the long grass, catching grasshoppers. I mean, what an incredible afternoon we've had. Or fascinating afternoon rather. I think starting with that big bull elephant that James had, then we got to see the leopards, and then that herd of elephant came through. Jamie got to see the hippo, she got to see that male lion, and little things like the dwarf mongoose, some lovely birds. James had some insects. It really is a great safari, if you ask me. A wonderful afternoon. Now, Trident, you wanted to know, is it true that mongoose kill cobras or snakes? Yes, certain species of mongoose, they do. One of the best known killers of snakes would probably be the meerkat or the suricate. Now, we don't get them in this area. They prefer semi-arid to desert areas, but they are known for killing snakes. These little mongoose would probably try and avoid a snake. What they often would do is they'd mob them and they'll chase them away. But the little dwarf mongoose generally aren't as aggressive, I would say, towards snakes. Banded mongoose and that definitely, and other mongoose species like yellow mongoose, or the slender mongoose. Slender mongoose would definitely try and kill a snake and eat a snake. Now, Heidi, I'm not sure what the temperature would be in that termite mound on such a hot day like today. I think we know that termites, that when they occupy a termite mound, they regulate the temperature, and it's always between about 32 and 34 degrees Celsius. I would say that probably those tunnels deep down there now, most likely a bit cooler than that. I do think it's much cooler. This termite mound is not active anymore. You can see, I mean, you've got vegetation growing on it and other animals living in it, like the mongoose, so no longer active with termites. But I would say it's probably still much cooler in there than it is above ground in the summer, but it also probably keeps them warm in the winter. Now there are some impala snorting. Those impala that walked past were snorting in front of me, but I don't think they've seen anything. I think it's more a male, possibly two males snorting at one another. It doesn't sound like a serious alarm call, but we'll listen out just to make sure. Sometimes the impala also, they might see a little warthog run through the grass, or they think they've picked up on the scent of something. But a serious alarm call, you'll hear a number of impala alarming. You won't just hear one, especially with a big herd that moved past. You'll have a few impala alarm calling. Looks like it's bedtime. Well, let us leave these beautiful little creatures. That was really, really great. Now, from these tiny little Mongoose. Jamie's back with that beautiful male lion. Let's go have a look.
The beautiful male lions that are having a really good late afternoon snooze, which was pretty much as I expected, and I hope that as it gets a little bit cooler, roll over. Could you hear the sound he just made? That sigh, not quite. Oh, there's no sigh number 2. Big stretches from the so-called kings of the bush. Having a little bit of a tummy rub as well. Oh, beautiful. It's so nice to see 3 of them together once again. I mean, it's been so long since I last saw 3 Birmingham boys gathered together. I'm trying to think when it was. I think the last time I saw it was with Dave during Mara week, when James was in the Mara. But even then, it wasn't all 3 of them together. It was 2 and then 1 separated slightly. And I just wish that we could see all 4 of them gathered once again. And of course, this is how it goes with coalitions once they've established themselves. Now that they are the dominant male lions of this area, they know it, and they have to split up in order to keep the territorial boundaries well patrolled, or effectively patrolled, perhaps is a better way of phrasing it. And I do wish we could see more of all of them together, which is why I'm so hoping that this evening, because there's a good chance that Nena's going to move off and go on his own way and leave Tino with Mfumo, as is regularly the case. I'm hoping that they might give us a few roars just to end off our sunset safari. And it really is truly beautiful. I mean, the clouds are utterly stunning. Sorry, I got distracted, Craig, I'm sorry. Really, I mean, that sky is just amazing. Deep purple and very, very quiet. Now, for our newer viewers, I think we've gone into a lot of depth when it comes to the Birmingham Boys and the fact that there are 4 of them that belong to this coalition. And I'm relatively certain that they come together and move apart more often than we realize. Probably regularly, not every night, but on a relatively regular evening basis. And we see their tracks coming and going and backwards and forwards, and then they move off again and split away. Biting flies. Sorry, that reaction might have seemed a bit extreme, but one of them earlier... Stay away. One of them earlier managed to get under my sandal and bit me on the sole of the foot, which I thought was pushing it a little bit. That is just not on. Once they bite you, it's really, really itchy. And I've got an itchy sole to my foot while I'm driving. That was why I'm reacting in a somewhat extreme manner to the biting stable flies. And you can imagine what it's like being a lion. One of the reasons that these boys would come together and patrol their territories if there was any risk of another coalition or another group of males coming in to pressurize their territorial boundaries. But what they won't necessarily do is come together to hunt. And General Deco, that's what you wanted to know. You wanted to know whether or not, if one of them is hunting, will they call the others to come and help them? No, generally not. If they are together in a pair or in a group, then they will, of course, cooperatively hunt. That's what lions are best at. Now, that's something that the prides seem to have mastered far better than the males. No, let me rephrase that. That's not fair, because, of course, the Birmingham Boys are very effective buffalo hunters. What I perhaps mean to say is that often the prides need to rely a little bit more on teamwork because they don't have the size advantage that these males have. So when these males go charging into a buffalo herd, each one could actually take down their own buffalo and kill their own buffalo just because they've got that much more of a size advantage. Oh, it is such a beautiful evening, and our lions aren't showing any sign of stirring. I mentioned that the scenery is stunning. Let's go and have a look at Byron's view.
Yeah. Have a look at that. Isn't that spectacular? A beautiful bird of prey. Now, it is silhouetted, but judging by the silhouette, it looks like a brown snake eagle. I'm almost certain that's what it is. Yeah, definitely a brown snake eagle against the sunset on a beautiful dead tree. that really is, that is just spectacular. Well, it's been a very hard Monday for us. This was such a great way to end off today. It's been a really, really amazing drive. Just shows you, days go by where it's a bit quiet and you don't see as much, and then other days you tend to see a lot of really great sightings where, and that's the beauty of a safari, is it changes constantly, and the more time you spend out, the more time you get to go on a safari, the more rewarding it can be. But we know that sometimes it's often a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And I know some of our viewers and that all around the world might never even get on a safari, which is also okay. But that's fortunately you get to watch shows like this, and which is what makes Safari Live so special, because you do get an idea of what a safari is like. And I always tell my guests when they get off the plane for the first time, they arrive in Africa. And one of my guests still quotes me to this day. He tells a lot of his friends, he says, you need to remember, this is not a zoo or a National Geographic documentary. Those documentaries take years of filming and patience and following animals, and they fit them into 2 hours or so, some of them. So you get all the action basically put into 2 hours. It doesn't happen like that. As you know, it takes a lot of time tracking, following these animals to get the wonderful sightings that we have. I'm sure you're all getting amazing screenshots. It looks like a painting. This would be a spectacular painting. Val, as I said that, you say no painting can truly match the beauty of an African sunset, and I'd have to agree, Val. You could probably get close, but when you are here and you're enjoying it and seeing it for yourself, it's I mean, how do you describe it? I don't think you can. There's Ray. Now, and we'll ask James about this tomorrow, but the word for the lilac-breasted roller in Xongile, I think, is imverve, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that purplish kind of coloration you see in the bottom left of your screen, that color through the clouds over there, that is the color imverve. If I remember correctly, I think I remember Judas, my tracker, explaining it to me, and I think that's Kansilo Ngop James Numzan. So James said shiverve, and so I was close. It's shiverve. That is the correct term, and that's the color that we can see on the horizon. And that is the name for the lilac-breasted roller. See, James is watching now in the final control, so he may learn a little bit more about taking a safari. Oh, James is laughing. As long as I get James to laugh. James finds all my jokes very, very funny. So James apparently was feeling a bit tired on bushwalk, and he had to head back. So that's why they cut it short. No, I'm just joking. So apparently there was some backpack issues, so they had to unfortunately return a little bit earlier. Hopefully it will be sorted by tomorrow morning. That's really great. Yeah. Kirsten just mentioned, she said, this is so pretty, she doesn't want to leave. And it really is. I think, it's just amazing to look at. I don't have to say anything. I can just sit here and enjoy it. Now this would be a lovely spot to stretch our legs, have some refreshments and maybe a snack, and basically just chat about what we saw this afternoon and share those memories. With a view like this, it just makes it all unbelievable, really. I wonder if you could describe this. Often we think of words to describe things, and it's very difficult. But I would lean with this beauty that we are experiencing now. I'd lean towards emotional. It's an emotional view. I think if you really sit and you listen to the birds still calling, there's a cool breeze through the air. It's a wonderful smell, just fresh air, and you can smell a lot of the green bushes around us. And you've got this magnificent sunset, silhouette of a bird. I think for some people, definitely it can be quite emotional because it's sheer beauty. James says he's in tears. Now I'm not sure if he's laughing at me or if he's legitimately in tears. I think when we are out here every day, or all the guides or people that are fortunate to work in the bush, sometimes we take it for granted, and I always make a conscious effort of reminding myself how fortunate I am to be able to see this, and how fortunate I am to be able to accompany guests on their safari, take them around and try and show them the beauty that is Africa. And you say you think this is probably one of the most extraordinary sunsets we've ever seen. Well, that's special, and I'm glad you think so. And I suppose every sunset is different out here. But I think this eagle, that is just an incredible silhouette. Alright, now unfortunately we are going to have to say goodbye. take you away from this incredible, or stop saying incredible, this magnificent and beautiful sunset. I really hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and so Dave too. But thank you very much for this afternoon. I hope you all enjoyed it. I had a great time. It really was great. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Byron.
Hope you enjoyed it. And we're going to head back to Jamie with those 3 beautiful males. Goodbye, everyone.
And what a perfect timing from your incredible sunset with Byron to our incredible Birmingham Boys. They've just started to get up. There we go, Nena leading the march. Beautiful boy, he really is stunning. We don't often get to see Nena, and he really is gorgeous. And it looks like Mfumo coming up behind him. Tino, are you the lazy one again? Yes. Bless you. Oh. Coming up to rub heads. Come on, boys. Oh, grabbing at each other's tails. Oh, perfect timing. I was worried they were going to remain completely fast asleep right up until the end. Come on, boys, roar for us. No, not urinate. Roar. Oh dear. Apparently I don't have the power to command them. Funny that. Hello, Tino. Are you up now? Coming right up next to the vehicle. Hey, boy. Oh! And... oh. Okay. False alarm, everybody. All 3 of them have all just lay back down again. I thought we were going to get lucky in the last few minutes of the sunset safari. I thought we were going to have them roaring. Oh, boys. Here's one right next to the vehicle. How are you feeling there, Craig? Close eye on you. And then 2 of them up ahead in front of me. Here's Nena. I hope he doesn't disappear. I hope he doesn't leave Djuma. And then Mfumo on the right. No, the 3 Birmingham Boys, I have no doubt, if we don't hear them roaring at the end of our sunset safari, and they've only got about 60 seconds or 90 seconds in which to do so, then I would definitely watch the dam camera over the evening, because there is a very, very good chance that you're going to hear a cacophony of lions roaring, which I think is a pretty stunning way to spend an evening, don't you? I'm going to be looking forward. I hope they don't go south. I hope they come north. Oh well, we tried, and we hoped that our lions were going to give us a wonderful display of their vocal prowess, but unfortunately not. But keep watching our live safaris and join us tomorrow morning for the sunrise safari. We'll be following up on the lions, and of course there is a chance that Karula is going to be still around. Hopefully she keeps that kill and we can see her as well. And on that note, it's time to do our goodbyes and our thank yous. Thank you, Craig. It's been a joy working with you for the first time, as well as to Kirsty and to Lou in Final Control. It's always a joy working with you, but you know that. Most importantly, thank you to all of you for joining us wherever you happen to be. I hope you had fun. Let's finish off... no, maybe not. Let's finish off with Tinyo. He's in the process of cleaning his rear end, so we'll finish off with the lions lying in front of us instead. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure having you as always, and we'll see you tomorrow for the sunrise safari. Have a fantastic evening or day.